So here's my 2021 conspiracy theory. I think Mercedes fans are really up in arms about this consistently, and they don't stop complaining about it. But so I just wanted to like level a volley back at them, which is that I think the Latifi crash was 100% planned by Mercedes. So let's get into the controversy. So there are two things that Mercedes fans are pissed about. Just to give people who might not know that much of the background, 2021 was an incredibly close race between Max and Lewis. The final race of the year in Abu Dhabi, they were neck and neck in points. Whoever won would win. Lewis Hamilton was leading at lap 56, at which point, or 54, at which point there was a crash by Nicholas Latifi. During that crash, there was a safety car that came out. There were five. Max went to the pits to change his tires. Lewis Hamilton didn't. When Max came out, there were 5 lap cars between them. And what happened was there were two controversial decisions that were made by Michael Massey, the racing director. The first controversial decision by him was to unlap the cars between Max and Lewis, which, by the way, is part of the rules, right? But what people criticize is his decision to unlap the cars between Max and Lewis, but not the other lapped cars, right? So there were a certain amount of lap cars, including like Lance Stroll, and Michael Massey decided to just unlap the cars between Max and Lewis. The second thing that people criticize the FIA about, and I think is a little bit more legitimate, but actually is not, is him deciding to end the race, him deciding to bring in the safety car in order to give them one last racing lap, right? So let's go through these two objections first, and then I'm going to give you my Nicholas Latifi conspiracy theory, which I think is pretty self-explanatory, but we can go through it anyway. So here is the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix report. You can read it, and basically it says that. So when it talks about the unlapping the cars, I don't even need to get into the report. It says like the other cars should have been unlapped, right? So that's clearly a problem. Michael Massey, he should have unlapped all the cars. Right now, what they instituted afterwards was basically an automatic system to determine this type of thing, right? So yes, Michael Massey should have unlapped all the cars. Unlapping just those 5 only helped Max, as Will Buxton pointed out in Drive to Survive. The thing is, though, that nobody makes the argument that unlapped cars shouldn't have been unlapped. Right? That is not an argument that people make, because it's clearly in the rule book that in this type of situation, the lap cars should be able to unlap themselves. What people say is that they only unlapped the lapped cars between Lewis and Max as if to say, right, the implication of that argument would necessarily be that had they unlapped the other cars, it would have ended differently, right? Because nobody's arguing that you shouldn't have unlapped the cars, because obviously you should have, right? So the argument then necessarily has to be that if they had unlapped all of the cars, then it would have ended differently for Max. But I don't see how that is any different. I don't see how Lance Stroll being behind Max changes the race in any significant fashion versus, I think it was Sergio Perez who came in third. Who came in third? No, it was Carlos Sainz who came in third. Nobody has made any argument as to how choosing to only unlap those cars actually benefited Max in a tangible way, right? So, if we're going to agree that the car should have been unlapped, right, why is it that unlapping only a section benefits Max, but unlapping all of them would not benefit Max, or would benefit Max less? It doesn't, right? Both scenarios helped him equally as much, and both of them were clearly in the rule book as something that Michael Massey had to do. So by making this argument, what people are doing is they're just doing this really disingenuous argumentative style where they say something with an implication, but then if you actually think about it for 2 seconds, you realize that it's nothing. So that whole argument is stupid. So we're going to put that to the side. The second argument, which I think is a lot more valid, is that what Michael Massey did was he brought the safety car in a lap too early, right? And basically what Michael Massey wanted is this is the championship, right? By the way, to talk about the unlapping cars one last bit, like the thing is like the reason why he did that, and I think this is the reason why he did that, and like it really like is pretty simple, is that like he's just like, look, it makes no fucking difference. Like all these cars make no difference. Everything else is set in stone. The only thing that matters is Lewis and Max. So let's not focus on all this other bullshit. Let's just focus on this thing that actually matters. Anyway, so in terms of the safety car, in terms of bringing in one lap early, right? So basically, Nicholas Latifi basically crashed at the exact perfect lap for Mercedes, where by the rule book, the safety car should have gone for one more lap, and Lewis Hamilton should have won the race under a safety car, right? And the thing is, though, actually, that's not true. Here's why. So let's look at the report. This is the FIA report. So this is in section 3. Is that section 2? Let's just say bullet point 32. Okay, so let's read this. Can you guys see this? Let me pull it down. All right. It was also likely considered that the decisions regarding the safety car at the end of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix likely took into account previous discussions, including at meetings of the F1 SAC, the F1 Commission, and F1 team managers, that made clear the F1 team's preference to end races under green flag racing conditions rather than behind a safety car when safe to do so. The F1 drivers' consultation confirmed that finishing a race under a green flag racing conditions remains desirable, but that safety should always come first. If for safety reasons it is not possible to withdraw the safety car, the F1 teams confirmed that they would accept finishing the race under safety car conditions. Okay? What does that mean? That means that throughout the season, throughout the years, right, you see this happen a lot, right? And by the way, just as a caveat, like rules in Formula One are a lot more open than they are in other sports. Like it really is like a bunch of teams just coming together and just writing the rule book as the season goes on. Like that's awesome about the sport, right? But basically, what this says is that through team meetings, right, the F1 team principals have said that we want the races to end under a green flag, not under a safety car, right? So when you are able to do that, make sure to end the race under a green flag, not a safety car, right? The only way, and as it says it here, right, is that the finish race condition remains desirable, but that safety should always come first, right? So if it is unsafe for you to end the race under a green flag, then sure, fine, end it under a safety car. But insofar as it is safe to do so, end it under a green flag, right? Which is exactly what Michael Massey did. So yeah, he brought in the safety car early, he did that type of thing, but he did it at the behest of the team principals. The team principals had made this point before. They had asked the team principals throughout the year, in this type of situation, what do you want? And all the team principals agreed, or the majority of them agreed, we want to end it under a green flag, right? So, what does that mean? It means that Mercedes people are just salty. Seriously. That, what Michael Massey did was completely legal. It was completely 100% what he should have done. He made the right decisions. And they're just mad that this completely crazy event didn't actually end up benefiting them, and Lewis didn't end up winning under a safety car. Now, let's look something up, which I think is really interesting. So, Susie Wolf. Sorry, my internet is pretty slow. Formula One. So, Susie Wolf was the CEO Rocket Williams. You can't see it on a Wikipedia page, but Susie Wolf, Rocket Williams Racing. Okay, so Susie Wolf was appointed team principal and shareholder of Rocket in 2018. And she was still in charge of Rocket, team principal and shareholder of Rocket Venture Racing in her first formal move into team management and ownership. She was promoted to the role of chief executive officer, Monaco's only racing team, right? And so let's look at Williams' name, Williams Racing in 2021. Williams was Rocket Williams Racing, right? So I mean, we don't even have to go down this fucking rabbit hole, right? Like it's very clear that the two teams are incredibly related to each other, right? That George Russell, that was sent to Williams as a junior league in order to bring him up to Mercedes later. People have been talking about Kimi Antonelli this year going into Williams. James Vowles is the former, engineer at Mercedes, right? Like Williams is basically Mercedes' Toro Rosso, right? So imagine if we flip the script, right? Imagine if, who's the Toro Rosso in 2021? It was Pierre Gasly still, right? Okay, so imagine if Max Verstappen is leading the Grand Prix, right? And Pierre Gasly crashes into the wall, and there's a safety car, and then Christian Horner says, we need to end the race on a safety car. Wouldn't you be a little bit suspicious? Yet when the exact same thing happens in the opposite direction, no one's suspicious, right? And I just want to highlight one last thing from this report, because this is actually crucial. Okay, so the race director, so the stewards issued a directive. Mercedes had the ability to appeal, and they didn't. And I think that's because everyone knows that had they actually done a full investigation, they would have found audio. They would have found a conversation that linked Latifi's crash to Mercedes. So they just let the matter rest. And so that's my Nicholas Latifi conspiracy theory.